Alain Badiou is a great French philosopher who even today plays a key role in the debates of critical and analytical philosophy. There is little doubt even amongst the best philosophers and mathematicians that Alain Badiou is one of the most challenging contemporary figures. He has numerous books published over 3 decades on different discourses including mathematics, literature, aesthetics, politics and ethics. He knots together both mathematical and philosophical discourses. Alain Badiou was born on the 17th of January 1937 in Rabat, Morocco, but he moved to Paris where he did his studies. Both his mother and father were educated. His mother had studied poetry and literature while his father was a mathematician. Badiou attended the Lycée Louis le Grand and then the École Normale Supérieure. After teaching in Reims, first at the Lycée and then the university, in 1969 he joined the Department of Philosophy at the newly established University of Paris, the 8th, at Vincennes. The head of the department was Michel Foucault. The Vincennes campus had been established in the reorganization of universities after the student riots of May 1968, which, combined with the strikes and massive demonstrations, almost overthrew the government of France.
May 68 in France was the real thing. What began as a student protest for reform of the archaic, authoritarian French university system sparked a general strike that electrified the country.
The campus had a very radical student body and a very radical philosophy department. Badiou himself was a committed man of the left. He had been one of the founders of the Unified Socialist Party in 1960, which was very engaged in the struggle for the liberation of Algeria. The events of May 1968, Badiou reinforced his commitment to communism.
May 10th, the night of the barricades, 20,000 students marched in the Latin Quarter. Police and students clashed, street fighting went on for weeks. The rioting and marches of up to 500,000 people frightened not only President de Gaulle, but the French Communist Party as well. The old left thought this new left was out of control.
The first thing that you need to know about Badiou's philosophy is that it's very difficult to understand. The two main books that define and elaborate his ideas are Being an Event, published in French in 1988, and Logic of Worlds, Being an Event 2, published in French in 2006. I will try to explain the basics of it in very small steps. The first step is truth and the role of philosophy. So what is truth? Of course, this is a translation of in vérité. So from Larousse, I can see the first meaning, which refers to a conformity between what is real and what a person thinks is real. This leads me to the role of philosophy. Philosophy does not produce truths. Of itself, it produces nothing, but can identify truths which have emerged. Badiou says that philosophy doesn't amount to much if does not recognize that there can be and are universal truths. I can say some things about truths as Badiou refers to them. The first is that they are universal and unchanging. This distinguishes them from what is merely knowledge, which of its nature is subject to change as things are discovered, understanding is expanded. The second is that a truth is not something which is self-evident. It emerges through a process which, I shall describe later, can only arise in art, love, science, or politics, and not philosophy, and which is dependent on the responses of people, subjects, to the situation that could reveal the truth, the event. Before I try to tell you about the event of a subject, there are some illustrations about truth which might help to understand what Badiou means. There are paintings of horses in a cave in the Ardèche, painted 30,000 years ago. Picasso produced several which included a horse or horses. Although the ancient paintings and the modern ones are very different, Badiou says that each demonstrate an eternal truth, horse, and the fact that the representation vary so widely is proof of that. I will try to give one more example, the truth of prime numbers. These are, of course, numbers divisible only by themselves and 1. The numbers of prime numbers is infinite, and there is no formula for generating them exactly and without exception. Computer algorithms can, of course, tell you if a particular number you nominate is prime. So there are prime numbers out there which do exist and have always existed that nobody has ever been able to identify. A mathematical process can be performed on any of them to reveal the truth that they are prime. How do truths emerge? The examples that I've referred to provide a clue, but we need to consider now two more of Badiou's ideas, the event and the subject. What is the event? The first and simplest thing to say is that an event is something that opens up the possibility that a truth can be identified. If I go back to the horse example, where the universal truth, horse, then the production of a painting or drawing that has the possibility of revealing that truth or making it accessible is an event. However, it is only contingent whether the truth is actually revealed depends on what happens next, a process that starts with the event. Love is a truth. It has an existence which may not be recognized, but when it is recognized, completely alters the present and future of the lives involved, and in that small way, existence itself. It is something that before it came into being could not be seen or considered. Even if the love dies, the fact that it existed remains a truth. So I come to the subject. Although an event opens up the possibility that a truth can be identified, a truth can only emerge from the event if it is actually recognized and proclaimed to be a truth by a person or people. Badiou calls that person or those people in their relationship to the event and to the possibility that the truth which lies within the event will emerge into the present, faithful subjects. By their proclamation that an event that has indeed happened and has produced a new truth, they mark the beginning of the subjective process by which the truth can become established. But it is not certain to be established, because the faithful subject may have rivals, the reactionary subject and the obscure subject. The reactionary subject chooses to deny the utility of the new truth. This is also those who were faithful to the new truth but turned away from it. A new truth alters the state of being as it is known or understood. It ruptures existence. The reactionary subject does not wish to recognize this rupture and works against its recognition, even while asserting that some of the benefit can be realized without the necessity of such rupture, or that a radical rupture will do more harm than good. For example, the leadership of the French trade unions in 1968, who chose not to support and foster a revolution, but to negotiate with the government to secure benefits for workers, are for Badiou an archetype of reactionary subjects. The obscure subject actively resists the new truth by denouncing the faithful subject or by denouncing that the new truth stands for. For example, in 2007, the presidential candidate Nicolas Sarkozy proclaimed that his election would put an end forever to the heritage of May 1968. He claimed those events marked the beginning of a moral decline in France and that les 60 hitards have imposed on France the idea that there is no difference between good and evil and that the victims count for less than the delinquent. For Badiou, May 1968 was not simply a series of riots, strikes, and demonstrations. It was an event that brought forth a rupture that marks it as the emergence of a new truth. In these terms, Sarkozy's denunciation is the work of the obscure subject. That is how I explain the basics of Badiou's philosophy. To sum it up, I will quote from the works of the man used in an interview in 2001. The real question underlying the question of evil is the following: what is the good? All my philosophy strives to answer this question. For complex reasons, I will give the good the name truths in the plural, a truth is a concrete process that starts by an upheaval, an encounter, a general revolt, a surprising new invention, and develops as fidelity to the novelty thus experimented. A truth is the subjective development of that which is at once both new and universal. New, that which is unforeseen by the order of creation, universal. Universal, that which can interest rightly every human individual according to his pure humanity. To become a subject and not remain a simple human animal is to participate in the coming into being of a universal novelty. That requires effort, endurance, sometimes self-denial. I often say it's necessary to be the activist of a truth. There is evil each time egoism leads to the renunciation of a truth. Then one is desubjectized. Egotistic self-interest carries one way, risking the interruption of the whole progress of a truth, and thus of the good.